What's the difference between wandering aimlessly and exploring? Honestly, I wasn't too sure. I just knew I had a van that barely ran and a country I'd barely seen. But sometimes that's enough to take the first step and figure out the rest later. That's where this story begins. Welcome to the channel. My name's Jeff. I'm just another 20-something trying to figure out my place in this world. What I've learned so far is that I love working with youth, being outside, and failing forward. It's snowing again. Sometimes literally. And usually on camera. Most of all, I love sharing stories. This one's about my first 2 weeks of van life. I'm tired, hungry, and a little lost, but I'm learning with every day. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so the starter went. I just had to press on the gas a little bit and it brought it back. All right. Stick to the left, Jeff, stick to the left. Oh, there comes all the water into the car. Fuck me. Ew. I just got soaked. Damn it. All the water that was sitting on top of the car is now on me. On my lap. Mother son of a... I've heard before that beginnings are often messy, and this one was no exception. I had my 1993 Toyota Taunus, aka Hildy, a pair of soaked pants, and zero clue what I was doing. My checklist was simple though. Water, food, insurance, and a place to sleep, all while trying not to crash when driving on the left side for the first time. The first stop on the list, a gas station, to change out my water tanks. But before that, let's quickly take a tour of Hildy's kitchen. Table, some utensils, some Tupperware here if I wanted to set up a picnic, I guess. Jerry can, some pots and pans, some gas and cleaning. Looks like dish soap maybe. A little light. Oh, okay. Do we have salt and pepper? What's this? I've no idea. That looks like it's pepper. Anyway, and then in here, this is our water setup. Gray water and clear water. There was still a lot I didn't quite understand about this setup. Even the simple task of removing the water tanks took longer than I'd like to admit. But in the end, it all worked out, and that first fill up felt like a small victory. That's all set. And I also learned, rediscovered here, that the pump is actually right here. So what I think I'll end up doing, more often than not, is just plugging this and then I wouldn't call it the smoothest process in the world, but then I can wash dishes in here, and then from there open this up, and the soapy water can get drained down with all the bits, and then theoretically I can go to a dump station like this one. At some of these gas stations, supposedly they're kind of like around Just gotta find it. Oops, hold on. Uh-oh, I've got a leak. Oh, come on. Oh, man. Okay. Well, sink is not what I would call ideal. Maybe I'll just leave like a napkin down there for the time being. Point is, I've now got water, which is good. Water to wash with, water to drink with. All right, chore number 1 done. We are currently at Pack and Save. Hopefully you can see that. This is, I've been told by the German couple that I bought this van from that Pack and Save is the cheapest place to get groceries. So, got a short list of some essentials, and hopefully we'll be good. Get in, get out. I'm gonna bring some reusable bags because I've seen a lot of people use them. They bring them in, and it seems like that's the standard. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll move on. Now, the tricky thing about grocery shopping when you live in a van with no fridge is that you can't buy anything perishable. That means thinking ahead. What'll last overnight, what won't spoil in the heat, and what's actually worth the space. It was mid-November, which is late spring moving into summer in New Zealand. The temperature swung hard between day and night, so this was my first time shopping with all that in mind. To keep things simple, I imagined I was prepping for a camping trip, and that helped a little bit. But on top of that, I was constantly converting currencies in my head just to know how much I was spending. Even simple tasks like this felt surprisingly draining when everything was new. Once I had food and water, I started tackling the smaller things that make a van actually livable. I needed a way to charge my phone from the van's USB port since my charging port broke a few months back on a camping trip. I also realized I needed to improve my bedding. At the time, my bed was just a thin foam pad on a single blanket. Not exactly ideal. Looking back, I probably should have just bought a mattress, but at that point, I was just trying to make it work. After finding a charger and some extra bedding, I stopped by the local library to handle insurance for the van. Compared to the US, it was way simpler and a lot cheaper. I ended up with coverage, including roadside assistance, for about $21 a month. And given my tight budget, that felt like a small miracle. With most of the day's chores handled, it was time to find a campsite. Van life, also called freedom camping, is popular here, but there are plenty of restrictions. You can't just park anywhere without risking steep fines. Using an app, I found a freedom camping spot about 20 minutes outside Queenstown. It was a big parking lot near a bungee jumping site, and I luckily got there early enough to grab a spot and cook my first meal in the van. I learned quickly that warm food can go a long way to boosting morale. Cooking became a goal rather than a chore, and something I looked forward to each day. If the meal was warm, I was happy. My first day of van life was full of small wins, bigger lessons, and hints of what was waiting just around the corner. We pick up the story a few days into my van life experiment. I'd moved a couple of hours north already to a campsite near Cromwell, spending my days organizing the van, getting better at cooking, reading, and applying for jobs at the local library. I even went on my first hike, though hike might be generous. It was mostly a farm road covered in animal carcasses and on a very windy day. Probably better to move on. As time went on, my budget started weighing on me. Van life was definitely cheaper than staying at hostels, but buying the van had already eaten into my emergency savings, and I didn't have a plan for what happened when that ran out. Luckily, I landed a job offer at a hostel in Mount Cook National Park. I didn't realize just then how lucky I was at the time, but I'd soon find out. There was just one catch, though. To finish the paperwork, I needed a New Zealand bank account, and because I didn't have permanent housing that wasn't on wheels, I'd have to show up in person and convince the bank to accept my employee housing as proof of address. The nearest branch was in Dunedin, which is on the East Coast, and in the opposite direction of Mount Cook. But that was okay, because this gave me an excuse to explore more of the country. Alrighty. Just finished a quick stint at the library, my last one at this one, at Cromwell, right behind me. And now we start the drive to Dunedin. Let's do it. I decided to take a little walk down to the beach. So I think it's pretty close to sunset if it's not already. Wow, look at that. My God. After a long drive, during which I learned my AC doesn't work, I finally arrived at a freedom camping spot just outside of Dunedin and right on the beach. I was born in California, so I've spent some time near the Pacific, but this was my first time standing in it while looking east. The ocean has this way of grounding me. The horizon stretching endlessly, the waves steady yet strong. It makes me feel small in the best way possible, like I'm part of something bigger, even if I don't know what that is yet. That night, I watched the sunset, and for the first time since landing in New Zealand, I felt myself finally slow down, and I lit a little gratitude in, for the unknown and for this beginning, before turning my thoughts towards whatever tomorrow might bring. Hi, good morning. It is Monday morning, November 25th, I think. I have a meeting at the bank to try to confirm my identity and address, which I'm hoping they will take my hostel housing as my proof of address. Nothing on the paperwork says that it's temporary. It is for the duration of my employment, which could be up to a year, so who knows? Maybe they'll be cool with it. I had to drive in the city today, and I'm not psyched about that at all. Pretty nervous, actually. Haven't driven in a city yet, but we got this. Worst that can go wrong is I crash the vehicle and dramatically hurt myself or others. All right, not the best thought. How about the worst thing that can happen is I get stressed and it's hard to find a parking spot, but that's why we leave early. I'm not one for leaving early typically, but it's only 9:15 and it's at 11. It's a 20-minute drive into the city, so. And maybe it's not that big. You know, maybe there's not a lot of people, just a few stoplights. Whatever. Let's just get to it.
While I had good reason to be nervous, there was left-hand merging, endless stoplights, and much tighter turns. This wasn't exactly San Francisco or Chicago. There was still plenty of room to breathe. And the tightest spot actually ended up being the parking garage. I nearly clipped my camera that was set up on the roof rack. The bank visit was long, a mix of waiting, paperwork, and me trying to explain my situation as best I could. But after some convincing, they approved my account. And with that done, I hit the road again, heading north up the coast towards Timaru, my last stop before starting work in Mount Cook National Park. Hello. I'm on my way back from the library. Thought I'd take note of the fact that I'm so exhausted. Having a very tight budget means that I can't have much food. So some days I'm feeling great, and others, like today, I have very little energy. But luckily, just gotta heat some leftovers up, maybe chop some veggies, and we're home anyway, so. Alright, the wind got too strong, and I was using too much fuel on it, so I decided to move to the driver's seat. It's most sheltered from the wind that I could get, and it's definitely working better. I'm able to get a slight boil going. One of those things van life is many things, but today it's learning how to cook on an uneven surface. Potentially flammable at that. Well, only so much I could do. By this point, I could tell that my version of van life was starting to wear me down. The lessons had been valuable, but each one came at a cost, whether that was time, energy, or a little bit of comfort. Maybe that feeling hit harder because it was Thanksgiving back home. Everyone I cared about was gathering together, and I was halfway across the world in a parking lot, eating dinner alone. I went to bed that night knowing it was time for something more sustainable. Today, I've decided that I think I'm gonna go all the way to the hostel, which means that I gotta kick myself into gear a little bit. I'm gonna spend a little time at the library in the morning. I need to stop at Pack and Save today to get some groceries for hopefully at least the next 2 weeks. That's what I want it to last me. And then it's just a 2.5 hour drive all the way to the park. So, time to say goodbye to the ocean and hello to the mountains. After 2 weeks, 700 kilometers driven, and countless lessons learned, I finally arrived in Mount Cook National Park. I didn't know where this job would take me, but as the road wound deeper into the mountains, I realized that was kind of the point. I came to New Zealand to take risks, to grow, and to see what I was capable of. While the beach has always grounded me, the mountains have this way of testing me, of asking me who I really am when I'm pushed. As I stood there, surrounded by towering peaks, I felt for the first time like I was in the right place. Maybe that's the difference between wandering aimlessly and exploring. Next time you think that you're lost, that could be exactly where you're meant to be. In the next chapter, I trade the solitude of van life for community as I start my new job at the hostel. I meet the people who will turn this place into a home and set out on my first attempt to summit one of the region's peaks. It's the start of discovering a deeper love for the mountains and for testing my limits within them. But that's a story for another day.